Hi children, I am going to continue the lesson number 20, Post-War World and India. Now let us have a quick recap of what we learned in one or two words. We learnt about the formation of UNO and its organs, and we also learnt about the Cold War between USA and USSR blocs and some of the tactics followed by these countries, military alliances formed by these USA and USSR, and how they helped them, arms race between these two countries, and non-alignment movement we learnt about, and how it got international status in Bandung Conference we learnt about it, and West Asian crisis also we learnt. And now we learnt about the growth of nationalism in the Middle East also, and how they were supported by USA and USSR, and how the Berlin Wall was demolished, uniting both East and Western Germany, and USSR got disintegrated. Now we are going to continue the lesson, India and its neighbors. Now let us see, India and its neighbors. Now, India maintains good relations with all its neighbors. What are the neighboring countries for India? China, which are discussed in this lesson. China, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Pakistan. Now let us see what type of relations India is maintaining with these neighboring countries. First, to start with, our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, he formulated a very popular policy, Panchsheel principles. He formulated 5 principles. For following these 5 principles, if India agrees to follow these 5 principles, the other countries, neighboring countries also should accept to follow these 5 principles. And it is named as Panchsheel Agreement, Panchsheel principles. There are 5 principles in this Panchsheel Agreement, and these were formulated by Jawaharlal Nehru. Now let us see what are those 5 principles. Respect for each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Each and every country should respect the other country's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and not to interfere in the internal affairs of other countries. If India is there, India should not interfere in the internal affairs of China, Pakistan or Bangladesh, like that. Non-aggression. Non-aggression means not attacking. Non-aggression, not attacking other countries, and settlement of disputes in a mutual understanding way, that means peaceful way, and to achieve cooperation and mutual respect in international politics. To achieve cooperation and mutual respect among these countries in international politics, and promoting peaceful coexistence, to live peacefully among others. That means to have peace among these countries, that is peaceful coexistence, to exist with peace among themselves. These are the 5 principles, and these are part of Panchsheel Agreement, which was formulated by Jawaharlal Nehru. Now let us see what are the relations that are maintained by India with China. After a long struggle and a violent revolution, China became a communist country in 1949. Already NATO was formed in 1949, and China became communist country in 1949. And India was one of the first countries to recognize China's communist government. And India also supported a permanent seat in UN Security Council for China. China, as you know, it is one of the 5 permanent members of UNO Security Council. And India supported a permanent seat for China in the UN Security Council. And India also helped China to take part in the Bandung Conference. Bandung Conference was held in 1955. To take part in this Bandung Conference, India helped China, in spite of their ideological differences. What are the ideological differences? India's ideology is secularism. China's ideology is communism. In spite of these differences, India helped China to take part in the Bandung Conference in 1955. And both the countries, they signed Panchsheel Agreement. Just now I told you Panchsheel means 5 principles, and it was formulated by Jawaharlal Nehru. And both the countries signed this Panchsheel Agreement on 29th April 1954. From Indian side, the Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and the Chinese Prime Minister Zhou Enlai. These both, they signed this Panchsheel Agreement. And many a times these leaders of both the countries, they visited each other's countries, and they were greeted they were welcomed by the people of those countries. And during the colonial rule, that means when the Britishers were ruling over India, a McMahon line was drawn between India and China. As a border line, a McMahon line, it was named as, it was actually drawn by McMahon. It is the name of a person and the line has been named after him, McMahon line. During British rule, it was drawn as a border between India and China, and Nehru accepted this as a borderline between India and China. And in between China and India, there was Tibet. And this Tibet was to remain as an independent buffer zone. Buffer zone is belonging to both the countries. So, this McMahon line was accepted by Nehru. But China, violating this McMahon line, China annexed Tibet in 1950, saying that this Tibet was, once upon a time, when there was old Chinese empire, this Tibet was part of that old Chinese empire. So, it annexed Tibet in 1950. And this removed the buffer zone between India and China. Now, Tibet belongs to whom? To no one. Because Tibet was now annexed by China. But this was not accepted by Tibet. There was a revolt in Tibet, and this revolt was crushed by the Chinese. And at that time, thousands of Tibetans, they escaped along with Dalai Lama and his followers also, they escaped from Tibet. They came to India for refuge. And they took refuge in India. Indian government gave them shelter. Thousands of Tibetans, not only this Dalai Lama and his followers, many other Tibetans who did not want to be under the control of China, they escaped from Tibet. And Dalai Lama and his followers, they took shelter in India. And India gave them shelter. And this became another reason why China started considering India as an enemy. And prior to this, there was a border dispute between both the countries. What is this border dispute? In Aksai Chin area, this Aksai Chin area is in Ladakh region. Ladakh, I hope you know, it is near Jammu and Kashmir state. Jammu and Kashmir, now it is a union territory. In that Ladakh region, Aksai Chin area is there. And in that Aksai Chin area, China built a road and it started claiming that this Aksai Chin area belongs to China. That is the border dispute between China and also it claimed much of the part of Arunachal Pradesh state as if it belongs to China. Aksai Chin area in Ladakh region and also much part of Arunachal Pradesh also belongs to China. And despite many efforts, this border issue could not be resolved between the two countries. Now, China invaded India in October 1962, violating the peace treaty which it signed. According to the Panchsheel agreement, no country is supposed to attack the other country. So China is not supposed to attack India. It signed an agreement with India. But in spite of that, violating the peace treaty, that is Panchsheel agreement, it's attacked India in 1962. And it was an unexpected war for India. So we lost many lives in this war. And much of the property also we lost. Much of the money was spent on this war. And to resume normal conditions or normal relations between India and China, it took more than 1 decade. More than 10 years it took to maintain normal relations with China. Now, India's relations with Pakistan. Pakistan is another neighboring country, and already we know what is the main bone of contention between India and Pakistan, that is Kashmir issue. On Kashmir issue only, we had many wars with Pakistan. And since partition of India, Kashmir became the main bone of contention between the two countries, India and Pakistan. Both are claiming Kashmir to be part of their country. And after partition, these conflicts between India and Pakistan, they became almost permanent. Every now and then, Pakistan started attacking India in the name of Kashmir issue. And the first war between India and Pakistan, it took place in 1948. Immediately after independence, we fought a war with Pakistan. It was over Kashmir issue. But it did not settle the problem. But this war, 1948 war, divided Kashmir into two parts. Pakistan occupied Kashmir and the Indian province which divided by a line of control. A line of control was drawn in between Pak occupied Kashmir and Indian province. So, Kashmir got divided into two parts. Pak occupied Kashmir and Indian province. And in between there was line of control. And in 1965 we had another war with Pakistan. And it was Lal Bahadur Shastri who was the Prime Minister of India at that time. And during his Prime Ministership we had to fight another war with Pakistan. And at that time General Ayub Khan, he was the military dictator of Pakistan. And in this war, both the countries, they sent their armies to fight war, but Hugh Thant, who was the then Secretary General of UNO, Secretary, he immediately asked both the countries to agree to a ceasefire, to take back their armies, because if they go for a fight, many people will be killed and again the peace will be disturbed and there may be many other evil consequences. So he asked both the countries to take back their armies for a ceasefire. And both the countries agreed to the ceasefire and they signed an agreement after this war. After each and every war, an agreement is signed by both the countries. In the same way, after this 1965 war also, both the countries, India and Pakistan, they signed an agreement at Tashkent in Pakistan. And this is known as Tashkent Agreement. In 1966, this Tashkent Agreement was signed by Lal Bahadur Shastri and the then dictator of Pakistan, that is Ayub Khan. Both signed this agreement. And immediately after this agreement, it is believed that Lal Bahadur Shastri was given poison by them only. It is believed like that and he passed away. And after this, in 1970 again there were elections in Pakistan. And these elections were won by Ali Bhutto. In there were West Pakistan and East Pakistan. Both were Pakistan only. West Pakistan elections were won by Ali Bhutto. And in East Pakistan, that is the present Bangladesh, Mujibur Rahman, who was the leader of Awami League, he won the elections. East Bengal demanded autonomy. This Awami League, whose leader was Mujibur Rahman, this party demanded autonomy for East Bengal. But the government of Pakistan refused to accept the victory of Mujibur Rahman. When Mujibur Rahman won the elections in East Pakistan, it was not accepted by the government of Pakistan. And they arrested him. And then the supporters of Rahman organized into Mukti Bahini. For the release of Mujibur Rahman, they themselves organized into Mukti Bahini and they started their trials to get him released. And the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, also extended her full support to East Bengal and also fought a war with Pakistan in 1971 over the issue of Bangladesh. And this war was won by India. And with this victory, Bangladesh was separated from Pakistan and became an independent state. So in 1971, India fought a war with Pakistan over Bangladesh issue to support Bangladesh cause. It fought a war with Pakistan. And after this war, Bangladesh became an independent state. And after the 1971 war, Shimla Agreement was signed between Ali Bhutto and Indira Gandhi. And Bangladesh became an independent state. After signing this Shimla Agreement, Bangladesh became an independent state. And after this, again, in 1999, Kargil War, famous Kargil War, you might have heard of it. It was fought between India and Pakistan. First, after our independence in 1948, over Kashmir issue. 1965, again Kashmir issue. And 1971, over Bangladesh issue, we fought a war with Pakistan. And in 1999, it was Kargil War. It was fought between India and Pakistan has encouraged terrorism in the border states of Punjab and Kashmir. And many a times, India has accused Pakistan of supporting terrorism and actively training and sending religious extremists to create trouble in India. Even today, the same thing is being repeated by Pakistan. And both the countries, they shared culture and civilization, and also they tried to build bridges of friendship through trade, sports, films, music, etc. In all these fields, they are maintaining good relationship. trade, sports, films, tourism and cultural exchanges, they are maintaining good relationship. Only over the issue of Kashmir and also in respect of terrorism, there are many clashes and we don't know when they are going to be solved and by whom they are going to be solved. Now, India's relations with Bangladesh. Bangladesh, it is also one of the neighboring countries, and just now we have discussed Bangladesh became an independent state in 1972. After the 1971 war with Pakistan, Bangladesh became an independent state. And with the help of Indian troops only, in 1972 it became an independent state. And after becoming independent, Bangladesh signed a 25 years peace treaty with India. This was the only neighboring country signing a peace treaty with India. Immediately after its independence, becoming independent state in 1972, Bangladesh signed a 25 years peace treaty with India. And over several other issues, we have some differences. Because we are sharing waters of Ganga and Brahmaputra, so there are some clashes between both the countries. And large scale migration of people from Bangladesh to India, because there are no fencings between these two countries. Because of hilly areas and because of the water bodies, it is not possible to erect any fencing between the two countries. And because of that, whenever any natural calamity occurs in Bangladesh, thousands of people they are migrating to India. And it becomes a problem for the local people in India. To accommodate all these people and to provide food also, it becomes a problem. And this fencing could not be erected because of the water bodies and also because of the high hills and all. And because we are sharing the rivers like Ganga and Brahmaputra, there are many clashes between sharing of water of these rivers. But in spite of these differences, again, both the countries, they cooperate with each other. On many issues, they cooperate with each other, and especially in economic field. That means whenever we need, they are giving economic support, and whenever they need, we are giving economic support. So mostly in economic field, we are supporting each other. And Bangladesh is an integral part of the Indian Look East policy. India formulated a Look East policy. What is this Look East policy? It is very important for 1 mark or 2 marks. Indian government formulated Look East policy to link up South Asia via Myanmar. To link up India with South Asia via Myanmar, this Look East policy was formulated by Indian government. And Bangladesh is part and parcel of this Look East policy because we have to connect to South Asia through Bangladesh only. So through Bangladesh and Myanmar to link India with Southeast Asia. So Bangladesh is an integral part of India's Look East policy. Remember it. And both have cooperation on disaster management, and also Bangladesh has rewarded many Indians who rendered their services and sacrificed their lives for the liberation of Bangladesh. Because I told you, Indira Gandhi's government supported fully this Bangladesh cause. And India fought on behalf of Bangladesh with Pakistan, and India won the war. And after that only Bangladesh was formed as an independent state. And all those Indian soldiers who rendered their services and sacrificed their lives in the liberation movement of Bangladesh, they were rewarded by the Bangladesh government. Now let us see what are India's relations with Sri Lanka. This already we have learnt in 9th class, if you remember well. Sri Lanka, it is an island country, and Sri Lanka is separated from India by Pak Strait and Gulf of Mannar. These two separate Sri Lanka from India. India is an island. Sri Lanka is an island country situated in the Indian Ocean towards the south of India. And it got its freedom in 1948. It was also a colony of the Britishers, and it got its freedom in 1948 from the colonial rule. And India and Sri Lanka, they are maintaining cultural, ethnic and economic relations. Good relations they are maintaining. Economic relations, ethnic relations and cultural relations also. And both were decolonized almost at the same time. India got freedom in 1947 and Sri Lanka got freedom in 1948. Almost at the same time, both the countries became independent. And they are remaining as democratic countries till today. Both India and Sri Lanka are also democratic countries. And a major point of issue which disturbs the relationship between these two countries is treatment of Tamil speaking minorities. Because let me tell you about the background. Sri Lanka and India, they are the major producers of tea in the world. And Tamil Nadu, it is very close to Sri Lanka. So many of the Tamilians, they migrated to Sri Lanka to work in these tea plantations. Though they went to work in these tea plantations, they settled there. Since many years they have been living there, and they became almost citizens of Sri Lanka. But these Tamil speaking people, they are considered as minorities in Sri Lanka, and they are not given equal rights by the Sri Lankan government. They are not even given some of the freedoms, and also the right to vote is also not given to them. They are discriminated against the Sri Lankans. Now, it led to many a times these Tamil speaking people, they were driven out of Sri Lanka by the Sri Lankan government. And for their own independence, to become independent from the Sri Lankan rule, they wanted equal rights along with the Sri Lankans. These Tamil speaking people, they formed into LTTE group. LTTE group is Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam. They formed into a group called LTTE, and they started fighting against the Sri Lankan government. So there were many clashes between the Sri Lanka and Tamil speaking people in Sri Lanka. But whenever these clashes were severe, these Tamil speaking people, they were driven out of Sri Lanka. And when these people came back to India in thousands of numbers, it became a problem for Indian government to accommodate all these people again. So at that time, our Prime Minister was Rajiv Gandhi. And he thought of sending army to Sri Lanka to establish peace between the LTTE group and the Sri Lankan government. And he did the same thing. He deployed army to establish peace between these Tamil speaking people, that is LTTE group, and the Sri Lankan government, so that such incidents will not be repeated again. And this sending of army by Rajiv Gandhi to Sri Lanka was not accepted by the LTTE group or by the Sri Lankan government. Both did not like it. So, as a result of this, Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated by the LTTE suicide squad. When he was on an election campaign in Perambadur, then he was attacked by a suicide squad who belonged to LTTE, and they assassinated him. Because when he sent army, it was not liked by the Sri Lankan government or the LTTE group also. And thus Rajiv Gandhi had to lose his life in an election campaign in Perambadur. And finally, now also the issue is not yet fully solved. For the time being, there are no incidents of any clashes, but it is not completely solved. Now let us hope for the best. This is the end of the lesson. As usual, I am giving you homework. Read full lesson and underline all the key points. Learn all the 1 mark and 2 mark question answers. Complete the blanks and compare your answers with the key given. And read questions 33 and 36. Both are graph and map questions in the material. Please read them once. And here is the key for blanks.